Open. Pursuant to paragraph 91A of the Parliament of Canada Act, it is my duty to present to the House the annual report of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner in relation to the Conflict of Interest Code for members of the House of Commons for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2012. Conformément au alinéa 80.
Pursuant to 91A of the Parliament of Canada Act, it is my duty to present to the House the annual report for the Commissioner of Ethics dealing with the Conflict of Interest Act for the period wrapping up on March 31st.
The Access to Information and the Privacy Acts of the Information Commissioner of Canada for the year 2011-2012. These documents are deemed to have been permanently referred to the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Tabling of documents, dépôt de documents. Introduction of government bills. Statements by ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. The Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 34.1, I have the honour to present to the House in both official languages the report of the Canadian delegation of the Canadian section of Parliamericus respecting its participation at the signing ceremony of a memorandum of understanding between the Organization of American States and Parliamericus held in Washington, D.C. on February 9, 2012, and the bilateral visit to Haiti held in Port-au-Prince, Haiti from March 18th to the 24th in 2012.
Very good.
Presentation de rapport du comité.
Presenting reports from committees.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honour to present in both official languages the sixth report of the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disability in relation to its study of skills development in remote rural communities and era of fiscal restraint. Pursuant to Standing Order 109 of the House of Commons, the committee requests the government table a comprehensive response to this report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton-Leduc.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honour to present in both official languages the 11th report of the Standing Committee.
30 sitting days to consider Bill C-377, an act to amend the Income Tax Act requirements for labour organizations. And on behalf of the entire committee, a wonderful summer to everyone in this House.
Pursuant to Standing Order 97.13a, a motion to concur in the report is deemed moved, the question deemed put, and a recorded division deemed demanded and deferred until Wednesday, September 19, 2012, immediately before the time provided for private members' business. Oh, I see. Okay. L'Honorable Deputy d'Hochelaga.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the pleasure of presenting in both official languages the complimentary report by the New Democratic Party of Canada on the study dealing with the development of skills in isolated northern communities conducted recently by the Human Resources and Skills Development Committee. The NDP supports the report. However, the recommendations need to go farther if we are going to ensure that skills and information are accessible for northern communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of private members' bills. Ms. May, seconded by Ms. Duncan of Etobicoke North, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act Respecting a National Lyme Disease Strategy. This motion is deemed adopted. The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my great honour to rise today to present this private members' bill, for which I hope there will be support from all sides of this House. This is the ultimate in nonpartisan issues. This is the ultimate of non-geographically limited issues. We are, in each of our ridings, facing an increasing threat to our constituents and their families from a very tiny threat, a little tiny tick that is spreading and can bring debilitating illness to any one of us at any time. I dedicate tabling this bill today to a very brave young woman who was with me earlier today at a press conference, Nicole Bottles. She was diagnosed when she was just in high school and is in a wheelchair waiting for her cure. I want to thank the Canada Lyme Foundation, and I want to urge all members of this House to join me in working to a national Lyme strategy. Thank you,
Madame May, après par Madame Duncan.
Ms. May, seconded by Ms. Duncan, moves that this bill be read a first time and printed. The motion is deemed adopted.
Première lecture de ce projet de loi. First reading of this bill.
When shall the bill be read a second time? At the next sitting of the House. Première lecture de projet de loi
First reading of Senate public bills.
Motions. Motion. Oh, the Honourable Member for Elgin Middlesex, London.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I look for unanimous consent to the following motion, that in relation to its study and the order of reference of May 30, 2012, the members of the Special Committee on the Status of Cooperatives in Canada be authorized to travel to Fredericton, New Brunswick, Quebec City, Quebec, Regina, Saskatchewan, and Vancouver, British Columbia in July 2012, and that the necessary staff do accompany the committee.
Does the Honourable Member have the unanimous consent of the House to propose this motion? No. There's no consent. Motions. Motion. Presenting petitions. Présentation des pétitions. The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the honor to present a petition signed by some 100 residents, people in my riding of Halton Hills.
Petitioning in support of Motion 312 and asking that Section 223 of the Criminal Code be amended.
Honourable Member for Victoria.
Speaker, and I'm pleased to present 3 petitions, and they're all from my constituents. I'll be brief. The first petition calls on the government to maintain funding for the OAS and make investments in the Guaranteed Income Supplement to lift all seniors out of poverty. The second petition urges the House of Commons not to pass Bill C-30 and reject any proposals that would allow the authorities to obtain the private information of Internet users without a warrant. The third petition, Mr. Speaker, calls on the Government of Canada to enact a Canada public transit strategy. They note that Canada is the only OECD country that does not have a national public transit strategy, and that there will be an estimated $18 billion gap in transit infrastructure needs over the next 5 years.
Member for Etobicoke North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 2 petitions to present today. The first is regarding funding environmental programs. The petitioners call on the government to make sure the Polar Environment Atmospheric Research Laboratory is funded. In addition, they request the government ensure Environment Canada's aircraft program, air quality monitoring, CorrelNet, iodine toxics, and ozone network are funded. In total, that environmental programs that protect the health and safety of Canadians.
Any petitions? Présentation des pétitions. The Honourable Member for Surrey Moose Mountain.
Speaker, I have 3 petitions calling upon the House of Commons and Parliament to confirm that every human being is recognized by Canadian law as a human by amending Section 223 of the Criminal Code in such a way as to reflect 21st century medical evidence for the constituents of Estevan, Oxbow, and Frobisher. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to present 2 petitions. First, a petition in support of stronger animal cruelty legislation. Stories like the horrific culling of sled dogs in 2001 shock and anger all of us, yet our animal welfare laws are largely unchanged since 1892. So far, I've received over 4,500 signatures in support of this petition, calling for the government to recognize animals as beings that can feel pain and strengthen the animal cruelty section of the Criminal Code. So I have these 4,500 signatures. And, Mr. Speaker, I also rise to present a petition signed by over 100 of my constituents in Parkdale High Park, calling on Parliament to support the NDP motion to reject the proposed change to the eligibility of old age security from 65 to 67 and maintain funding.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This, on the last day of our session, I want to bring forward a petition from individuals in Winnipeg North dealing with the seniors increase from 65 to 67, where my constituents believe that the people should be able to continue to have the option to retire at age 65 and that the government not in any way diminish the importance and value of Canada's 3 major seniors programs, OAS, GIS, and CPP. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Speaker. I'm proud to present a petition calling upon Parliament to recognize that asbestos is the greatest industrial killer the world has ever known, and that more people die from asbestos than all other industrial causes combined. I will skip the preamble and suggest that these petitioners call upon Parliament to ban asbestos in all of its forms, end all government subsidies to asbestos, and stop blocking international health and safety conventions designed to protect workers. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. I rise on behalf of many people in Saint-Maurice-Champlain who are calling on members of Parliament who change parties be accountable to the electorate and to be re-elected, in fact. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Microphone, please. Inaudible. It comes from Madawaska-Ristigouche, which calls on a review of C-38 as respect to adequate jobs and other issues.
Quitlow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to present a petition regarding the closure of the Kitsilano Coast Guard Station. We have thousands of petitioners calling on the federal government to reverse the decision to close the Kitts Coast Guard Station, which is one of the busiest ports in Canada. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, it's an honor for me today to table a petition on behalf of the residents of Acadie Bathurst, signed by over 2,400 people who are unhappy with the changes to EI contained in Bill C-38, especially the provisions dealing with the economy. They penalize seasonal workers and regional workers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
On a lake country.
Thank you. I table a petition to the House of Commons on financial support for the Canadian Catholic Organization for Development and Peace, and I wish you a safe summer and all our colleagues as well. Look back forward to coming back in September. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough Rouge River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand today to present a petition on behalf of members of my constituency who call upon the Government of Canada to enact the Canada Public Transit Strategy, which seeks to provide permanent investment plan to support public transit, establish federal funding mechanism for public transit, which would get all levels of government to work together to provide sustainable, predictable, long-term and adequate funding, and establish accountability measures to ensure that all governments work together to increase access to public transit.
Petitions. The Honourable Member for Lac St. Louis.
I have a petition here whereby the signatories ask that the federal government not close down or otherwise transfer the experimental lakes area program outside of government, that it remain within the purview of the federal government. Thank you.
I'm afraid we won't have time for more petitions. We'll have to move on. Questions on the order paper. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader. Questions on the order paper?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if question Q517 could be made in order for return, this return would be tabled immediately.
Is it the pleasure of the House that question... Sorry, 517? 517? Be made in order for return and that it be tabled immediately? Was that 517 or 117?
517.
Okay. Is it the pleasure of the House that question 517 be made in order for return and that it be tabled immediately? Agreed? Agreed and so ordered. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, I ask that the remaining questions be allowed to stand.
Is that agreed? Agreed and so ordered. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The Honourable Member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Canadians from coast to coast gear up for another summer season of camping and outdoor activity, I encourage everyone to explore one of our national parks across Canada.
In my riding of Kootenay, Columbia, we are blessed with 4 national parks: Yoho, Kootenay, Glacier, and Mount Revelstoke. These national parks date back over 100 years and enable us to enjoy some of the greatest natural wonders in the world.
The Capco Falls and Yoho National Park, Marble Canyon and Kootenay National Park, the Rogers Pass National Historic Site and Glacier National Park, and finally the Meadow in the Sky Pathway and Mount Revelstoke National Park are just a few of the awe-inspiring natural treasures that await you.
This summer, come and live the experience of what Kootenay and Columbia acknowledge as being the greatest place in the world.
The Honourable Member for Newton North Delta.
Mr. Speaker,
Each year, June 23rd marks a painfully sad day for thousands of Canadian families. 27 years ago this Saturday, 329 people lost their lives in a tragedy known as the Air India bombing, the largest mass murder in Canadian history. Although a Canadian inquiry was launched and completed, many questions remain unanswered. Relatives still struggle to understand how it happened. Today, our hearts go out to each and every one of them. As we approach another anniversary of this atrocity, I stand here asking all parties in this House to join together in remembrance of the victims and their families. Canadian, British, and Indian citizens perished on that flight, but countries all over the world mourn them.
Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lumbinière-Chute-la-Chaudière. Mr. Speaker, despite the filibustering by the NDP, the official opposition, and other parties, the government is moving ahead to ensure sustainable and long-term prosperity. The NDP refused to recognize the sovereignty of the National Assembly. When they don't agree, they violate the rules and brush aside all of the traditions of democracy. But we are the only parliament representing a majority of francophones in North America, and we are leading up to the national holiday in Quebec. I want to take this opportunity to wish all Quebecers a great Fête Nationale.
The Honourable Member for St. Paul's.
On National Aboriginal Day, we commemorate the fundamental role First Nations, Inuit, and Métis played in the shared history of Canada. We recognize how historic injustices have contributed to unacceptable gaps in outcomes for health, education, housing, and access to basic services like safe drinking water. Today, we must reflect on the words of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that Canadians have been denied a full and proper education as to the nature of Aboriginal societies and the history of the relationship between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal peoples. If
we want to move forward in a spirit of partnership, respect, and cooperation, all Canadians must have an opportunity to learn more about the historical basis of these relationships.
We must commit to a new nation-to-nation relationship based on consultation, collaboration, to ensure a more prosperous common future.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the early 1940s were dark days in England and the rest of the free world. People were desperate for some good news and a feeling that freedom was fighting back against tyranny and oppression. Bomber Command became a ray of hope as the only way that the Allies could take the fight to Nazi Germany. Canada's contributions were impressive and the stuff of legend, but the success of Bomber Command came at a terrible cost. Out of 125,000 aircrew who served, over 55,000 were killed, including over 10,000 Canadians. This is a debt that can never be repaid, but it is a debt that can never be forgotten. In an act of political correctness in 1945, Bomber Command was left off the list of organizations that were officially recognized for the roles they played in the Allied victory. This oversight is finally being corrected 67 years later. The new Bomber Command Memorial will be unveiled in London on June 28th by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in the presence of 42 Canadian Bomber Command veterans. The Bomber Command Memorial will form a physical and emotional link to our past. We will remember their dedication to the values of freedom and democracy. We will remember their sacrifice at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
The Honourable Member for Trinity Spadina.
Mayors and councillors want a national transit strategy. Air travellers want safe, affordable services, and farmers want reliable rail delivery. Did the Transport Minister get the job done? Well, no, he didn't. There is still no national strategy for transit, air, or rail. He has failed to heed the advice of the Transportation Safety Board on air safety. There are still no voice recorders and automatic braking systems to reduce train accidents. He has failed to protect pedestrians and cyclists by making sideguards mandatory on trucks, and he has failed to protect rail customers. So what did he get done? Well, he's following a grand conservative tradition of appointing insider friends. From Ted Fleming in St. John to failed candidates in Quebec City, Prince Rupert, to fundraisers in Oshawa and Toronto port authorities, the minister excels in patronage appointments. That's not Canadian leadership which will move Canada forward.
The honourable member for Saskatoon-Humboldt.
Mr. Speaker, this July 1st, I will proudly celebrate Canada Day and encourage all Canadians to do the same. But this July 1st, I will also celebrate Dominion Day. The term Dominion was originated by Sir Leonard Tilley, who came up with it as a way to encapsulate the aspirations of the Confederation generation. It was derived from Psalm 72, verse 8. It was meant to denote the breadth of the country from sea to sea. Dominion Day was taken away from Canadians when late on a Friday afternoon in a voice vote, 13 MPs enacted legislation doing away with Dominion Day, with no debate, no thought, no warning, and no reflection. They attempted to expunge from our history a word which, as Senator Ann Bell said, has a connotation of a firm foundation and assurance of growth. It takes us above and beyond rather small partisan political concepts of this country. Mr. Speaker, I do not support the elimination of Canada Day, but July 1st also needs to be known as Dominion Day once again. It is a mistake to try and preserve the future by destroying the past, and the name Dominion Day should be
the honourable member for Fleetwood Port Kells.
Mr. Speaker, I am very pleased to welcome Madeleine Chevalier to Ottawa. Her son bravely served Canada in Afghanistan, and she herself was a Canadian Army lieutenant nursing sister during the Second World War. On November 6, 1943, while traveling from England to a post in Italy, Madeleine's ship was bombed and sunk by the Germans. After stopping to aid her friend, who had fainted during the evacuation, both were able to climb down into a lifeboat. Although German planes were still circling, cloud cover allowed for everyone on board to be rescued. Madeleine served with the nursing sisters, earning 5 medals, including the Italy Star, the Defence Medal, and the Canadian Volunteer Service Medal. Her service to Canada will never be forgotten. Thank you, Madeleine.
The honourable member for Vaudreuil-Soulanges. On June 23rd, this coming Saturday, the vision of our former leader, Jack Layton, will be honoured through the inauguration of Jack Layton Park in Hudson, Quebec, where he grew up. This park used to be known as Hudson Marina and features a magnificent view of Lac des Deux Montagnes. The park will pay tribute to Jack's legacy. He grew up in Hudson and was very involved in the community throughout his political career.
It will serve to remind us of Jack and his legacy, that we should hold on to our optimism, move forward with love, and keep focused on the true values of Canadians, values such as diversity, tolerance, and social justice. I'm proud to inaugurate the Jack Layton Park in my riding, and I invite you all to celebrate with us on June 23rd. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, on National Aboriginal Day, June 21st, we celebrate Aboriginal cultures and traditions by taking part in festivities across the country. Since National Aboriginal Day was proclaimed in 1996, more and more Canadians have taken time each year to learn about the incredible accomplishments and contributions of First Nations, Inuit and Métis to our great country. On this day, we celebrate the diversity and heritage of Aboriginal people, and we honour their unique place in the history of Canada. Indeed, the traditions of cultures of First Nations, Inuit and Métis have become part of the fabric of Canada.
Participating in National Aboriginal Day is an excellent way to promote greater knowledge and understanding of Aboriginal groups and their contribution to Canada.
I invite all Canadians, including members of this House today, to join our community and our country and celebrate National Aboriginal Day. Thank you.
Honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. The Canadian Human Rights Commission has indicated that there have been over 150 complaints from Aboriginal peoples and First Nations against the federal government since 2008. It would not be surprising to learn that some of these complaints had to do with housing on reserve, because everyone has seen the images of dilapidated housing, for example, in Atawaskat. The situation is serious, and these groups have had to go to the Human Rights Commission to have their issues addressed. People need concrete solutions for having safe, adequate housing. All Canadians have this right, and the government is still refusing to work with the provinces and territories, as well as municipalities and Aboriginal people, to come up with a national strategy for housing. What is this government waiting for?
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service, more commonly known as the Wrens, as they celebrate their upcoming 70th anniversary. Founded in 1942, the Wrens have a proud history of serving Canada when we needed them most. Between 1942 and 1946, close to 7,000 volunteers joined the Wrens and served in the war effort, performing non-traditional jobs like maintaining anti-submarine equipment, communications, and cryptology, and more. The contributions made by the brave women of the Wrens as full and equal partners were crucial in support of Canada's war effort. These women were pioneers, and their legacy is assured as by 1955, women were fully integrated into the regular component of the Royal Canadian Navy, and they continue to serve in all aspects of Canada's defence, including combat. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that all members join the Minister of National Defence and myself, the member of Etobicoke Centre, in offering our sincerest thanks and congratulations to the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service on this momentous occasion of their 70th anniversary.
The honourable member for Papineau.
Mr. Speaker, for 2 weeks this summer, the best athletes in the world will gather in London for the Olympic Games. Canada will be represented by 250 athletes in 20 sports. Our team, led by the Olympic Committee President Marcel Aubu, his chef de mission Mark Tewksbury, and others, will be able to count on experienced athletes such as Adam Van Koeverden, Clara Hughes, and Alexandre Despatie, as well as young hopefuls like Michael Taylor and Martha McCabe.
Thousands of hours of training and sacrifice to be able to represent their country in the biggest sporting event in the world. Only a rare few have that honor, so I know it is with much pride that our delegation will soon leave for London. Mr. Speaker, I want to say to all those athletes how proud we are of them, and remind them that from the starting gun to the finish line, 34 million Canadians will be cheering for them every step of the way. Go, Canada, go!
The honourable member for Desinete, Mississippi, Churchill River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, on National Aboriginal Day, I would like to take a moment to remember the contributions of Aboriginal soldiers, peacekeepers, and servicemen, such as police officers. Thousands of Aboriginal veterans saw action and endured hardships in the First and Second World War, the Korean War, on peacekeeping assignments while protecting this great nation. They fought overseas to defend the sovereignty and liberty of allied nations, in addition to supporting the cause at home. This proud tradition of service continues today. I myself, having served in the RCMP for over 18 years and attained the rank of sergeant, and on July 7, 2006, under my command, two colleagues of mine, Constable Mark Burdage and Constable Robin Cameron, who was First Nations and the first female shot in the line of duty and killed while serving their country. Today, we honor Aboriginals who served and continue to service with honor and distinction in all branches of the Canadian military. We remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect the values and freedoms we enjoy today. This National Aboriginal Day, let us reflect on the Aboriginals who have served in the name of Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Skeena-Bilkey Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to stand today and announce the first ever Most Likely to Do the Shuffle Awards. Of course, we start with the award for the Champagne Conservative. The Minister of International Development and who should watch out because her colleagues are spending hard on limos and catching up. As for the most costly photo op award, who else but our very own Minister of Defense? 47 grand on posing with an F-35 that can't fly was not only very expensive, but also tragically ironic. The Be Seen Not Heard award goes to the Intergovernmental Affairs Minister. Fewer than 600 words spoken in question period on his salary is $433 a word. Last but not least, the award for least likely to make cabinet, and it's a tie. Members from Kootenay, Columbia, and Nanaimo, Alberni, here's my advice. Remove that independent thinking, insert talking points, and you'll be just fine in about 20 years. I really do hope these awards help the Prime Minister as he tries to clean up this mess.
The honourable member for Yukon.
Mr. Speaker, let's go back over our government's record this past spring. We've increased full and part-time jobs, lowered taxes for Canadian families, signed new trade agreements, invested $150 million for community infrastructure, expanded Canada's student loans and grants. We brought Royal back to our Navy and Air Force, and we cut red tape for veterans. We've created national parks and expanded existing parks. We've invested $50 million to protect species at risk, and we've maintained our country's path for jobs, growth, and long-term prosperity. In contrast, the Leader of the Opposition has managed to accomplish one thing: oppose everything. Their leader called an entire sector of the economy a disease. He believes the only way to promote growth in one sector of the economy is to drive another down. As countries around the world struggle with out-of-control deficits and debts, Canada is on the right track to balance this budget, while our government rolls up its sleeves and continues on the path to provide opportunity, hope, and long-term prosperity for Canadians. We expect the NDP leader to...
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the F-35 is probably the biggest equipment procurement fiasco in Canada's history. No bidding process to buy an aircraft that not only doesn't work, but even if it did, it would not even meet the criteria established by the government, aside from a photo opportunity worth $47,000 with a mock-up. This failure is the responsibility of the Minister of National Defence, so will the Prime Minister take advantage of the summer to clean up this mess, beginning with replacing the Minister of Defence by someone who can get the job done? Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have not even yet purchased the F-35. On the contrary, we have said on many occasions that we will replace the aircraft once the need is felt at the end of this decade. And now, Mr. Speaker, we are rebuilding the Canadian Armed Forces, and it is very important to give to our men and women in uniform the equipment they need, and I'm very proud of the record of our government in that regard.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I know that the Prime Minister respects the French language, and Canadians appreciate his answers in French. But this respect must be reflected in the political decisions of the Conservatives. For example, the Minister of Heritage is cutting funding to French-language newspapers such as La Liberté in Manitoba and Le Voyageur in Sudbury by half. The minister says that he can't do anything about it. It's because of the formula. But that formula is the minister's formula. So will the Prime Minister change his minister's formula or change his minister and save the French language newspapers in Canada? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government has done many things for the French language, and our commitment to the roadmap to protect Canada's linguistic duality is also unprecedented. Mr. Speaker, it is also unprecedented to see the NDP put forward unilingual candidates in Francophone ridings. The Conservatives have never done that. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This spring, we saw the Conservatives abandon the very principles they claimed they came to Ottawa to defend, ramming through their Trojan horse budget bill, gutting their own Accountability Act, treating their backbench MPs like a rubber stamp, using closure a record number of times, electoral fraud, slush funds, and of course, ministers traveled the world staying in luxury hotels and taking $23,000 limo rides on the taxpayer's dime. How can a former member of the Reform Party defend this behavior? This summer, will the Prime Minister just shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic, or will he get his Conservative cabinet under control?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've just had one of the most legislatively productive periods in the history. By deciding they will oppose everything and filibuster everything, have proven themselves to be the least influential opposition in terms of the legislative agenda in the history of this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected us to focus on jobs, growth, and long-term prosperity. That's what we're doing. That's why the Canadian economy continues to have superior performance.
The Honourable Member for Hull-Aylmer. This spring was a tough one for the Conservatives. Cabinet and backbenchers cannot agree. It's complete chaos, Mr. Speaker. There is more and more dissent among the Conservatives because they are attacking employment insurance, old age security, environmental assessments, and fleet separation. Mr. Speaker, to restore order, they must stop introducing botched legislation. Will they finally learn their lessons from this fiasco of a parliamentary session? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, Canadians know, and so do Quebecers, that the adoption of our budget on jobs, growth and long-term prosperity will be productive for Canada. We are opening markets with our free trade agreements, and in addition, Mr. Speaker, we have measures that will protect our immigration system. So instead of getting into a useless political argument with the NDP, who would raise taxes and drag out the legislative agenda to accomplish nothing, we have an excellent record, Mr. Speaker, that will promote the economy. The Honourable Member for Hull-Aylmer. We see that they haven't learned their lessons at all from that response, Mr. Speaker. No lessons were learned by ministers who used military helicopters for their personal taxis, or other ministers who refused to apologize for insulting the Albertan deputy premier, or they're setting new records for conflicts of interest, or the repeated use of closure by the parliamentary House leader who is scared of debating with the NDP. Mr. Speaker, will they take advantage of the summer break to get their head out of the sand because they're getting it buried deeper and deeper? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, it would be nice to be able to discuss with our citizens who see that the government has done a good job on the economy. We also have targeted investments in research and innovation, which are promising for our economy, making it more productive and innovative. And also, Mr. Speaker, we have measures to open markets to help our exporters to be able to export their products instead of showing up with an agenda that would call for hikes in taxes, putting in carbon taxes and closures of industry. We're a long way from that, Mr. Speaker. We're going to go forward positively.
The Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the Minister... Thank you. I can't get used to this fan club, Mr. Speaker. But somehow I don't think it'll last. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister a very simple question. His Minister of Finance announced earlier today that mortgages were going to be reduced from 30 years to 25 years and that we're going to require a 5% down payment. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, before the applause breaks out on the other side, does that mean that the government is now admitting that their decision in 2006 to ultimately raise the mortgages to 40 years without a down payment was in fact a mistake?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance announced 4 different changes to rules for government-backed mortgage insurance. Mr. Speaker. I note that objective observers in the marketplace have responded extremely positively to the minister's announcements. Mr. Speaker, we do have record low interest rates in this country. The government has altered rules a number of times and will continue to do so on a prudent and flexible manner depending on the circumstances.
The honourable member for Toronto Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the figures clearly show that 60% of people who bought a house for the first time in 2008 had mortgages over 40 years. So people's debt went up by over $725 billion since 2006. And the federal debt went up by $117 billion. And so will the Prime Minister, won't he recognize that he has a certain degree of responsibility for the debt problems that exist in the Canadian economy right now, Mr. Speaker? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I see that the Liberal leader is talking about the debt situation. Now, I must point out that our debt is one of the lowest in all developed economies in the world, and that is why we can be proud of our economy's performance.
Well, the dance of complacency continues, but my last question has to do with this being National Aboriginal Day and the fact that we're celebrating as well the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812-1814. One of the things the government has to recognize is one of the most significant claims that has not been recognized or resolved is the Haldimand Tract claim, which in fact dates specifically from commitments that were made by the Crown to the Six Nations with respect to their support for the Crown in the War of 1812. This dispute carries on. It lies at the heart of many other contemporary disputes. Will the government finally recognize the need to resolve it, Mr. Speaker?
Prime Minister.
Well, in fact, Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada has been in negotiations with its partners on this for some years now, and we will continue to work productively with our partners to try and resolve this dispute. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, this government is the government that brought in the new specific claims legislation advocated by the Assembly of First Nations that has seen a record number of specific claims settled across this country. Mr. Speaker, on this anniversary of the War of 1812, we, of course, in all our events recognize the very important role that was played by Aboriginal peoples and by First Nations in that very successful war that helped establish this Canadian nation.
The honourable member for Halifax.
Monsieur le Président, hier.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment put on her rose-colored glasses to talk about sustainable development. But if she took off her glasses, this is what she would see. The Conservatives are not even achieving their own greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. Environmental assessments are going to disappear while pipelines leak across the country, and they are dismissing our scientists. Who is going to defend that record? Is that why they want the negotiations in Rio to fail? Honourable and Parliamentary Secretary.
Let's look at a highlight reel of the NDP year in review when it comes to the environment. Vote against clean tech funding. Vote against climate change adaptation funding. Against increased participant funding for environmental assessment. Vote against laws that would increase monetary penalties for those who break the rules on environmental assessment. Mr. Speaker, our most recent greenhouse gas inventory showed that greenhouse gas emission growth in Canada stabilized while our economy continued to grow. When will my colleague opposite recognize that it is possible to grow the economy while maintain environmental stewardship?
Honourable member for Halifax.
Growing the economy with things like the Green Infrastructure Fund. Well, today we actually learned from Global News that 80% of the Green Infrastructure Fund has not been spent, showing a total lack of commitment to green infrastructure projects by this government. But wait, there's more. In fact, the money that has been spent is going to projects like running government offices and pipelines. Not exactly top-of-mind environmental priorities. So my question to the Parliamentary Secretary is, when will they quit with the greenwashing?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I believe if you check the record over the last few years for any sort of green infrastructure funding or anything that would support the environment, the NDP voted against it.
Amazing.
By contrast, we're making tangible investment in green infrastructure, in research and development to promote environmentally sustainable technologies and to help get them to market. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, we're working with industry, with stakeholder groups. We're consulting them to figure out how we can implement programs to see real reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, water quality improvement. In fact, the World Health Organization noted that we have the third best air quality in the world. We're getting the job done.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Cowichan.
Mr. Speaker, when the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs was at committee, he said the Cultural Connections for Aboriginal Youth program was safe from cuts. But in June, the Treasury Board froze all funding for this program. Friendship centres across the country had to close after-school programs, health, recreational and cultural programming. Why does the Minister not know what's going on in his own department?
And the Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for her question. Today I was at the Ottawa Friendship Centre. I met with the national president. I met with their executive director. We are concerned about this issue. We are working with the executive director, who are in meetings this afternoon, official to official, and we will be realigning the program to meet our current needs for skills training, development, and job readiness for Aboriginal youth. And so we're putting the train back on the tracks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nanaimo Cowichan.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is National Aboriginal Day, and we should be celebrating programs for youth instead of worrying about what's happening with friendship centres. These are the programs that keep kids off the street and keep them going to school. Staff have been laid off, doors have been closed, and uncertainty has grown around the cultural connections. This is a blow to the great work that friendship centres do across this country. Why did the Minister let this funding be frozen? Why didn't he act before he was pressured into doing it?
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, most of this programming is delivered through the Friendship Centres. The Executive Director of the National Association of Friendship Centres has called our current approach the right approach. He went on to show it shows a level of understanding that if you want to do it better, you need to engage the people who the program is for. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Manicouagan. It is not only in education that the needs are pressing, Mr. Speaker. According to a recent study, the problem of mold in housing is getting worse. Over half of First Nations housing units are infected, causing serious health problems. And the problem has only gotten worse since the current minister took up his position. His solution is to hand out flyers. But when will this minister take the situation seriously? Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the health and safety of First Nation community members is a primary concern to our government. That's why we developed, in partnership with the Assembly of First Nations, a comprehensive national strategy to address mold problems and create healthier homes in First Nations societies. So, Mr. Speaker, since we formed government, we've built or renovated approximately 30,000 homes on reserves, and that has been growing annually, and we've done 3,000 major renovations every year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi Bay James Ayuk. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that the problems in education and housing are on the rise under this minister's watch.
This winter, Mr. Speaker, we saw in Ottawa-Piscataway a symptom of a much larger crisis that is happening everywhere in this country. We also saw a minister completely lost, unable to do the right thing to improve the lives of people living in some of the worst conditions in this country. Seeing that incompetence, why should Aboriginal peoples trust this minister to resolve the national crisis that is striking them?
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We had a housing issue in Ottawa-Piscataway. In very short order, we put 22 new homes into that community. We had a long-standing call for a new school in Ottawa-Piscataway. That school is currently under construction. Things are moving in the right direction. We even had, Mr. Speaker, a petition going around the community asking for retention of the third-party manager, which we took out of the community as a result of pressure from the leadership. and a reduced need for their presence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Churchill.
Mr. Speaker, unprecedented protests are taking place in Inuit and northern communities across this country to protest the high cost and lack of availability of healthy foods. People are fed up with this high cost and with this government's failure to act. Will the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs stand here and do two things? One, recognize this government's failure to act when it comes to leaving accessible, healthy foods to northern communities. And two, show some leadership with this government and put an end to the third world living conditions that Aboriginal people in Canada face today.
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP are full of overblown rhetoric. We have a letter that was published today from the Stanton Group. This is an Inuit-owned food retailer in the Northwest Territories. In the first year of the NNC program, the Nutrition North program, we've seen savings of up to 35% on perishable foods such as fresh fruit, vegetables, milk, meat, and eggs, savings that have been passed on to northern residents. In our experience, the Nutrition North Canada program is working well. That speaks for itself, Mr. Speaker.
Some of those communities are having to pay at least $7 for a loaf of bread, so don't tell me that the program's working. The government's Flush Canada Nutrition North program has failed to address the basic food needs of Inuit Canadians. Northern communities can't afford these sky-high prices. Even hunted game is expensive when you factor in the cost of gas and gear. The poverty in these communities is staggering. When will the Conservatives concentrate on northern poverty? When will the Prime Minister shuffle someone in to start managing the portfolio?
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, Nutrition North Canada was a program that used to subsidize air freight, and now it subsidizes food at the retail level, nutritious, perishable food for Northerners. And, you know, we're spending $60 million on the program in 103 communities. The evidence is now in that we have changed eating habits so that people are choosing healthier foods. The evidence is in that the price of those foods is reduced. The program is working, and these complaints are illegitimate.
The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the fact is that the social conditions of our First Nations, Inuit and Métis people is this country's greatest failure and, in fact, our greatest shame. They have a blank check for G.I. Joe to buy all the war toys that he wants, but they can't find any new money whatsoever to deal with the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding before our very eyes. Mr. Speaker, Aboriginal people need a champion around the cabinet table, not another minister for managing poverty. In the interests of National Aboriginal Day, will the Minister of Indian Affairs do the honourable thing and shuffle himself out of cabinet so that make room for somebody else?
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the current government has done incredible new investments in quality of life measures for First Nations on reserve. We've spent incredible amounts on the water and wastewater systems. We injected major monies into stimulus spending for housing on First Nations reserve. We have covered the gamut. We're investing in new school infrastructure, new school programming. We have set our priorities along with our collaborations with our partners, and the system is working as intended. Thank you, Mr.
The honourable member for Random Deer and St. George's.
Mr. Speaker, this government is fond of announcements and re-announcements, but they never deliver. They announce the joint supply ships. They cancel them, re-announce them. Still, there is no sign of when they will be delivered. The Arctic patrol ships are more than 3 years late, which will delay the replacement of our destroyer fleet. Among other examples are fixed-wing search and rescue aircraft, military trucks, and fighter aircraft. When will this government actually deliver on their commitments.
The Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Mr. Speaker, well, when it comes to our shipbuilding strategy, after a very competitive and successful process, 2 Canadian shipyards were selected to build our ships for the Coast Guard and Navy. This is a long-term industrial strategy. It will go on for decades. And it will create an estimated 15,000 jobs in the shipbuilding industry. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of work to be done, but I have every confidence that the Navy, working closely with Irving Shipyards, and the Coast Guard, working closely with Seaspan on the West Coast, will do what it needs to do to deliver these projects. We'll remain vigilant, overseeing the contracts as they unfold, but we're very proud of our commitment to build ships in Canada, and we know Canadian shipbuilding.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough-Guildwood.
Mr. Speaker, in November 2008, the PBO predicted a deficit, the Minister a surplus. The PBO was right, the Minister wrong. In December 2009, the PBO predicted a lapse in infrastructure spending. The PBO was right, the Minister was wrong. In 2010, the PBO pegged cost overruns on the F-35 at more than $10 billion, and the Minister. Again, the PBO was right, and the Minister was wrong. Minister, there seems to be a pattern here. The PBO is more frequently right than wrong, and the government appears to be more frequently wrong than right. Exactly. If this is overstepping the mandate, maybe we need a little bit more of the PBO, not less.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, let me quote from 2009. I'm quite concerned that the Parliamentary Budget Officer sees himself as an independent practitioner who can report whenever he wants. Who said that? The Liberal member for St. Paul's, Mr. Speaker. That was smart. So, you know, what I think the public can see through right away is when the opposition want to use the budget officer as an attack talking point, then they side with the parliamentary budget officer. When they disagree because it doesn't fulfill their arguments, then they attack the parliamentary budget officer.
Order. There's far too much order. The Honourable Deputy de Saint-Laurent-Cartierville.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Laurent-Cartierville. Mr. Speaker, on Sunday evening in the marina in Trois-Rivières, Captain Frigon saw a shipwreck in the Quebec Centre, and in just a few minutes, 4 people were saved by the Coast Guard. Tragically, 2 people are still missing. Doesn't the Minister see that the time factor for rapid intervention and full knowledge of French, as well as familiarity with the St. Lawrence, is what saved 4 lives? Doesn't he see the importance of keeping the Maritime Rescue Centre open in Quebec City? The Honourable Minister.
Of course, Mr. Speaker, we're saddened by any deaths, and we're also very happy to hear that 4 lives were saved. Mr. Speaker, the changes that we're proposing will have no effect on the services being provided. We'll be providing the same bilingual service, the same rapid response as the Coast Guard has always done in the past. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, here's another episode in the Conservative record. For 6 years now, the Conservatives have developed a very detailed guide saying that outlining everything that shouldn't be done in terms of military procurement. They didn't proceed with a transparent and open bidding process for the F-35s. They provided no guarantees for Destiny benefits. They hid $10 billion in the total cost envelope. And the worst in this fiasco is that no one's taking responsibility. Are they simply irresponsible? The Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Mr. Speaker, we take responsibility in terms of meeting all of the recommendations the Auditor General has outlined in his report, and importantly, no money has been spent in the acquisition of any aircraft. To replace our aging CF-18s, we have launched the National Fighter Procurement Secretariat. This arm's-length secretariat will be doing the due diligence very transparently and openly, and we look forward to their conclusions.
Here.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. In the failure department, the Conservative record is pretty impressive. But Canadians won't be fooled. They know full well that to resolve all of the problems with the F-35s, and namely the constant increase in costs, we need a lot more than the simple creation of a secretariat made up of the same people who were responsible for the fiasco. After having made many errors, the Conservatives have lost control over this procurement process. Are we going to have to wait for a new Minister of Defence in order to get some answers? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said, importantly, no money has been spent in the acquisition of any new fighter aircraft. In fact, to replace our new aging CF-18s, we've launched the National Fighter Procurement Secretariat. This arm's-length secretariat will ensure that due diligence, oversight, and transparency will be performed in this acquisition, but importantly, it also includes the advice of independent members, one being a former, very well-respected Canadian Auditor General, Denis Desautels, and we look forward to his support. In the interest of taxpayers, we will not move forward with purchase of any new aircraft until we've received the conclusions of the Secretariat.
Member for Beaches, East York.
Mr. Speaker, they've had over 6 years. The CF-18s need to be replaced, but they just can't get the job done. It's the best plane in the world. No, it's just a developmental project. The AG is right. No, the AG is wrong. They haven't spent any money, well, except for the $700 million, Mr. Speaker. That minister's in charge. No, it's the other guy. No, now it's this minister in charge. Mr. Speaker, why have they turned defence into an Abbott and Costello sketch? And, Mr. Speaker, who is on first?
Minister of National Defence.
Well, I'll tell you who's not supporting the military, Mr. Speaker. It's that member and his party. And let me tell you why. Because while our party has spent now up to $1 billion annually to replace equipment, to support programs, to make our forces better ready to respond, to support the men and women in uniform, Mr. Speaker, what we get is claptrap and insults. The member from Winnipeg referred to war toys. C-17s that brought compassionate aid to Haiti, Mr. Speaker. Those aren't war toys. All of the work that's been done in Afghanistan to protect those men and women's lives who are doing so much for Canada. That's an insult to our soldiers.
Beaches, East York.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a partial answer. I thought that minister was on the bench. But instead of turning this important project into a comedy of errors...
Order. Order. The honourable member for Beaches, East York has the floor. Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. The honourable member for Beaches, East York.
Mr. Speaker, instead of turning this important project into a comedy of errors, they could have just committed to an open and transparent competitive process. That would have guaranteed the best plane for the best price with the best benefits to our economy. Instead, we get more of this ducking and diving with no answers to some very simple questions. Mr. Speaker, when will the comedy team get the hook? And when will the Conservatives get a new act together to replace the CF-18?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Well, Mr. Speaker, rather than respond to this comedy routine, I want to remind the member opposite and members of his party that this government believes strongly in investment for the Canadian forces, in investment for the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, giving them the protective equipment that they need to do the important work at home and abroad. I am extremely proud of the work of the Canadian forces. I'm proud to be part of a government that has brought the Canadian forces out of a decade of darkness under the previous Liberals to a decade of delivery under a caring, compassionate Conservative government.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Speaker, many in this House will recall the name of Clinton Gale. He was a drug dealer who received a sentence of less than 2 years and was able to appeal his deportation as a result. While he was delaying his removal, he shot a Toronto police officer named Todd Bayless. Our Conservative government committed to take action to put a stop to this. Can the Minister of Immigration please update this House on how we're meeting this very important commitment to all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For too long, too many convicted serious foreign criminals have been able to delay their deportation from Canada for years. These are people who have abused the privilege of being in Canada by committing a serious crime, having been found guilty by a Canadian court of law. And because of a loophole created by the previous Liberal government, they've been able to make appeal after appeal of their deportation, sometimes for as long as a decade or more. And too many of them have gone on to victimize other Canadians. That will stop with the adoption of Bill C-43, the faster removal of Foreign Criminals Act. Will close the loophole and shut the door on unnecessary appeals.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne-Blainville. Mr. Speaker, last March, the Conservatives ended the Community Access program that offered underprivileged people access to the Internet. Once again, they're attacking the most vulnerable members of our society. Shame. At a time when the number of officials offering services is being reduced or being replaced by machines, this decision makes no sense. 50% of most underprivileged people don't have access to the Internet. How can the Minister of Industry justify this decision? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, the Community Access Program has existed since 1995 and has fulfilled its objectives. We came up in 2010 with the broadband program to connect as many households as possible Canada-wide. These are unprecedented amounts that have been invested, and once again the NDP has shown its hypocrisy because they voted against these measures. Mr. Speaker, what's important is to look at the policies with the broadband spectrum that we put in place, more choice for Canadians, be they in urban or rural areas, and access to technology regardless of where they live. That's what we've done, and they will never do. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Well, either the minister doesn't understand the file or he's taking people for fools. But, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about other cuts that will directly affect the people of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and the economy of my entire region. According to the Union of National Defence Employees, 144 civilian jobs will disappear from the base in Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the military base is an important economic driver for my region. So why are the Conservatives going so far in their attacks against the regions of Quebec with their cuts?
Minister of National Defense. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest in our forces, including infrastructure across the country. Mr. Speaker, it's important to achieve a balance and to take decisions that respect the taxpayers. Under each decision, we work to come up with a fair decision and to continue the support for our forces in local communities.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to increasing prosperity for Canadian families, the evidence is in, and this government has failed. The average after-tax income for families has gone flat under this government. Seniors' after-tax incomes have actually gone down. Canadians are losing ground under this government. And now they want Canadians on EI to accept 30% less pay on a downward spiral. After watching incomes stagnate, why are the Conservatives using their budget bill to drive down wages for hard-working Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Human Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we're doing exactly the opposite. We are making sure that whenever someone who's on EI is working, even part-time, that they're actually going to be better off than if they weren't working, that if they were just on EI. That's a big change, because we know that working part-time often leads to a full-time job. Mr. Speaker, we're making sure that we're taking it yet one more step to ensure that families are always better off working than not. Mr. Speaker, we've had tremendous success in lowering the poverty rate in this country. For example, the low-income rate for children is now 8.1%. Under the Liberals, Mr. Speaker, it was 18.4. We're making progress to help ease poverty in this country.
The Honourable Member for Louis-Hébert. Well, we know whose pockets his wealth is going into, Mr. Speaker. It's clear when we look at the bonuses being earned by CEOs of large corporations. Data from Statistics Canada is clear. Since 2007, completely under the Conservative reign, the average income for families has not budged. And with new rules for employment insurance, people will be forced to accept jobs that pay 30% less. Can the government tell us why Canadian families aren't benefiting from the Conservatives' economic policies? The Honourable Minister of Human Resources.
Canadian families are better off. In fact, there are almost 250,000 children who used to be in poverty but aren't now. In fact, 250,000 less children in poverty than there were under the previous Liberal government. Why is that, Mr. Speaker? Because we've invested in helping Canadians get over the welfare wall through the Whitby program, through over 150 different tax cuts, aimed at families who now have, Mr. Speaker, roughly $3,100 more in their pocket at the end of the year because of our tax reductions. That's money they can spend on their families.
The honourable member for Avalon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the chair of the Ethics Committee. Today, at the last minute, the chair cancelled this morning's meeting. This despite witnesses being confirmed and my motion to call the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister to testify on allegations of election fraud being on the agenda. The NDP have stated that they will not support my motion. It is clear that the NDP are colluding with the Conservatives to protect the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister. Why did the chair of the Ethics Committee cancel the meeting? Why is he protecting the Parliamentary Secretary? Did the Leader of the Opposition confirm this?
Order. L'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. The meeting was cancelled. Now, we knew that the House would be sitting for the last time today. It's a normal practice, a customary practice to cancel meetings. As you know, several committees were cancelled. It's a customary practice, and the motion is still on the books. If the member wants to table it in September when we come back, it will still be there. The honourable member for Saint-Laurent-Saint-Michel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the chair of the Access to Information Committee. Today, at the last minute, the chair cancelled the committee meeting, despite the Liberal motion being on the agenda, despite the fact that witnesses had been called. Now, having spent a night in the House with the Conservatives during the votes last week, has encouraged the NDP to stay in bed with the Conservatives to defend the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister? Why did the chairman cancel the meeting? To protect the Parliamentary Secretary?
Order. We'll have order. L'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
For Sherbrooke. Well, Mr. Speaker, once again, the meeting was cancelled last night. It was a customary practice. Most of the committee meetings were cancelled today, as it's the last day for the House to sit, and I would like to remind everyone that there were no discussions with the Leader of the Opposition. That is absolutely false. I would say that it's false. I'll stop here because those are allegations from the honourable member. He should respect the chair of the committee.
The honourable member for Western Arctic.
Mr. Speaker, best wishes to Indigenous people and all Canadians on National Aboriginal Day. Mr. Speaker, Northerners know the economic benefits national parks bring through increased tourism. With the expansion of Nahanni National Park Reserve and the creation of the East Arm National Park, Northerners have shown their commitment to these heritage sites. However, with the Conservatives' reckless cuts to Parks Canada, Northerners are concerned that this vital form of sustainable economic development will be delayed or severely crippled. Why is the minister cutting back on the government's promise to fully fund these northern parks? Is this government's opinion that parks don't create jobs?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to note that this government, since 2006, has protected more parkland than any other government in recent history. So we are committed to protecting that. We're also proud of the fine work that Parks Canada staff do to promote Canada, promote our great natural heritage. But, Mr. Speaker, a concept that the opposition doesn't understand is being wise stewards of taxpayer dollars. In fact, you could say that their ability to manage the economy is like a dine and dash, order the most expensive thing on a menu and then stick someone else with the bill. What we decide to do is make sure that we're wise stewards of taxpayers' dollars while managing the economy.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Nejet-Témiscouata-des-Basques. Mr. Speaker, my riding has the luck of having an excellent tourism site, the maritime site Pointe-aux-Pierres. The current agreement, low-cost agreement for Parks Canada, allowed thousands of people to visit this facility. But Parks Canada really slapped the organization in the face by taking back management over the lighthouse. Now that hours have been reduced, the season is shorter, and there will be double tariffs, all of that to take away the management of the lighthouse from an organization that's been doing so well. Will the Minister of Tourism reverse this Politaro decision? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, certainly our government remains committed to protecting our natural heritage, including under the scope of Parks Canada. We maintain funding, we maintain staff to ensure that those artifacts, those facilities are well protected and well maintained. We certainly feel that the measures included in Budget 2012 will continue to protect the great natural heritage of the country and the facilities that Parks Canada manages.
Hear, hear. Honourable Member for Miramichi.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the NDP and the Liberals, our government has been clear. We are unequivocal in our support of the Canadian sealing industry, an industry that is vital to communities across Canada. We continue to stand up and support these important jobs.
That's right.
Can the Regional Minister for Newfoundland and Labrador please inform this House of any updates regarding our government's respect and support for sealers in Newfoundland and Labrador and the rest of Canada?
Great question. Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs.
My name is Monsieur, and I know Mr. Kamau, not the my Similke, in not the Canada, no, just no, which is your mark. You know, might write to him at the window. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Honourable Member for that question. Unlike the NDP and Liberals, I'm proud to be part of this government that truly supports Canadian sealers and recognizes the importance of traditional industry, not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, but across the entire country. That is why tomorrow I have the honour to announce a major contribution on behalf of the government to the Home from the Sea campaign to build a memorial to Canadian sealers. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Etobicoke North.
Today, Maclean's magazine published the article The Silent Treatment, an expose of the government's mishandling of CCSVI. It details explosive conflicts of interest, politics over science, and the Canadian Institutes of Health Research admitting we hadn't seen the crisis coming. Today, I intend to place a motion on notice calling on the government to ensure Health Committee investigate CIHR's handling the development of a registry and clinical trials for CCSVI. Will the Minister of Health commit to an investigation?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, our government has worked hard to advance research in MS to improve the health of those living with this horrible condition. Along with MS patients, we hope that the research will contribute to a cure. Over the past 5 years, we have invested more than $27 million in MS research, and we are supporting the development of an MS monitoring system that will provide patients and healthcare providers with better understanding of the disease and its treatments. It's critical that we complete clinical trials for CCSVI to assess the safety and effectiveness of this procedure. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration agreed and warned health practitioners they need to approval before using it to treat people with MS. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Burnaby Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative attacks on science and research are never ending. They've eliminated important scientific institutions like the Experimental Lakes Area and the Canadian Foundation for Climate and Atmospheric Sciences. They have reduced investments in Statistics Canada and First Nations data agencies. And they've fired crucial scientists and researchers right across the public sector. And the ones that remain, well, they've been muzzled. So how can the Conservatives possibly justify their science and research attacks? Don't they care about Canada's future?
The Honourable Minister of State.
Mr. Speaker, nothing could be further
further from the truth. This government has made significant and important investments in science and technology at every single opportunity that we've had. We do that because science will create jobs. It will save lives. It'll improve the quality of life. But every time, Mr. Speaker, we put forward more investments for our scientists, for our students, for our researchers, the NDP vote against those things. It's time the NDP started to support science for once.
The honourable member for Elgin Middlesex London.
Mr. Speaker, our government has always been a consistent defender of supply management. By contrast, the Liberal Party offers no concrete proof of their position. The Liberals left supply management out of their election platform, and they constantly vote against measures that benefit our supply-managed farmers and all rural Canadians. Could the Minister of Agriculture please inform the House of the most recent example of how the Liberal Party is turning its back on our egg, dairy and poultry farmers?
Well, thank you to the member.
I've had to rule before that questions to the government have to touch on government and responsibility. And asking about asking about a position of another party isn't a government area of responsibility. So. Order. The honourable member is out of time. L'honorable député de Marc-Aurèle.
The honourable member for Marc-Aurèle-Fortin.
Monsieur le Président, tout le monde.
Mr. Speaker, everyone knows that the OAS program is sustainable, but the Conservatives need billions of dollars to pay the cost increases for the F-35s. So the seniors are going to have to pay for this poorly managed procurement program. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Human Resources said that benefits would never be reduced. But, but taking away 2 years of benefits is like taking away $10 billion. That's a decrease. So what are the Conservatives going to do during the summer? We hope you're going to learn how to count.
The Honourable Minister of Human Resources.
Doing is ensuring the sustainability of the system pour plusieurs années pour les générations.
For several years, for future generations, it's important to maintain the sustainability. We need to realize that we need to make adjustments. There will be no decrease for individuals.
The
Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Well, the session that's wrapping up just shows how wide the gap between Canada and Quebec has become, just how much of an obstacle that federalism is to the development of the Quebec nation. The Conservative government, with the support of the other Federalist parties, has multiplied and intensified the disputes with the Quebec National Assembly and its attempts to dispossess Quebec of its powers, areas of jurisdiction, and to weaken its economy, regions, and major institutions. Can the government promise today that it won't use the summer to pull out of a hat other additional measures that will run counter to the values and interests of Quebecers? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, it's incredible to hear questions like that one. Remember 2006 when there were problems with the fiscal imbalance? The Bloc had just monitored it passively for years, and we solved it within a year. 1 seat for Quebec on UNESCO. There was also a disagreement with respect to harmonization of the taxes. That was resolved under our Prime Minister. There was also a disagreement on offshore oil at Old Harry. Once again, our government, under our Prime Minister, resolved it. Yes, I will ensure my honourable member opposite. We will practice open federalism, and we will look after the interest of Quebecers.
That concludes question period for today. However, I do know that the honourable member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley wishes to pose the Thursday question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as tempted as I am to pose the question to the chair of the Ethics Committee, I think tradition suggests that I present it to the House Leader for the government. We've had our disagreements over this session that's been obvious in both form and substance. It's been no surprise to Canadians that we as the opposition have fundamentally disagreed about some of the objectives of the government on pensions, EI, healthcare. Well, we've had our disagreements, Mr. Speaker. Something that we absolutely agree on is that we have been supported by one of the most complimentary and hardworking staffs of any legislature in the world. We owe them a great deal of thanks. This was a long and trying session for them as well. And to all my colleagues on all sides, because we will not be meeting again for the summer recess, I wish them time with their family and friends and a productive summer time off. Thank you.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. I thank
you, Mr. Speaker.
The House Leader for the Opposition. On this side, we will not be taking time off. We will be continuing to work as we have so far.
Earlier today, I brought to media attention the government's intentions on the legislative agenda and what we have accomplished. I'm very pleased with our accomplishments over the past few days, the past few months, and what we can accomplish.
Corners of the House that we did receive to keep business moving here is much appreciated. Members of Parliament did a lot of hard work, reviewing and debating bills, including quite important bills, and at the end of the day, we voted on those bills and made decisions for the benefit of Canadians. Of course, bills remain on the order paper for our return in the fall, not to mention new ones to come. And I will advise my colleagues closer to our return as to the business of the House when we next sit. While sitting MPs in the government's legislative program will return after the summer, Mr. Speaker, we will have a new team of pages. I want to thank this year's pages for their hard work and their tireless efforts to support us in being productive as members. Back when we started the Christmas adjournment, I mentioned that the pages would have some good stories to tell when they got home. Well, I think the next 6 months have only added many more. And I can tell you being a page is a truly special experience that few do get to enjoy. My wife was a parliamentary page. She'll be upset, Mr. Speaker, when I tell you that was some 25 years ago. But notwithstanding the 25 years that have passed since, she still treasures those memories and refers to them as perhaps the best year of her life. To the rest of the House I say she's at home and they're writing I'm here. So to the rest of the staff of the House, the clerks at the table, but especially the other employees who aren't sitting here in front of us, who work so hard to support us and keep our lives orderly, I do want to say thank you. And Mr. Speaker, let me wish you, all of our colleagues here, all of the staff, a happy, restful, but hard-working summer. We will see you all in the fall. Now, I believe there's something we have to do one more time.
The Honourable Member for West Meltville Marie is rising on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like my fellow House Leader colleagues, I would also like to echo our appreciation for the very, very hard work of the staff of this House. All of us as MPs, when we enter this House, we tend to be absorbed with what we're going to talk about, whether it's a debate or asking a question. And we take for granted the high quality of the service that is provided in this House. And I think it is only fitting that we take this moment to recognize just how well we are served and the fact that we sometimes do take it for granted. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
In the busyness and sometimes hectic nature of our debates, we sometimes do forget to thank everyone, and I want to do that. Therefore, on behalf of the Liberal Party, I wish everyone a wonderful summer.
The House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion at the second reading stage of Bill C-27. Call in the members.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that you proceed immediately.
La question est la suivante.
The question is as follows.
North, seconded by Mr. O'Connor. Move that Bill C-27, an act to enhance the financial accountability and transparency of First Nations, be now read a second time and referred to the Standing Committee on Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development. All those in favour of the motion will please rise.
Mr. Harper.
Mr. Harper.
Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Panashway.
Mr. Panashway.
Mr. Ashfield.
Mr. Ashfield.
Ms. Raitt.
Ms. Raitt.
Ms. Ambrose.
Ms. Ambrose.
Mr. Nicholson.
Mr. Nicholson.
Mr. McKay Central Nova.
Mr. McKay Central Nova.
Mr. Van Loan.
Mr. Van Loan.
Mr. Paradis.
Mr. Paradis.
Mr. Clement.
Mr. Clement.
Mr. Baird.
Mr. Baird.
Ms. Finley Holloman Norfolk.
Ms. Finley Holloman Norfolk.
Mr. Ritz.
Mr. Ritz.
Mr. Kenny Calgary Southeast.
Mr. Kenny Calgary Southeast.
Mr. Moore Port Moody West of Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Moore Port Moody West of Port Coquitlam.
Ms. Oda.
Ms. Oda.
Mr. Duncan Vancouver Island North.
Mr. Duncan Vancouver Island North.
Mrs. Shea.
Mrs. Shea.
Mr. Fast.
Mr. Fast.
Mr. Blaney.
Mr. Blaney.
Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Benoit.
Mr. Benoit.
Mr. Brightcrest.
Mr. Brightcrest.
Mr. Merrifield.
Mr. Merrifield.
Mr. Camp at Meadows Maple Ridge Mission.
Mr. Camp at Meadows Maple Ridge Mission.
Mr. Poiliev.
Mr. Poiliev.
Mr. Lake.
Mr. Lake.
Mr. Bernier.
Mr. Bernier.
Mr. Gosal.
Mr. Gosal.
Mr. Goodyear.
Mr. Goodyear.
Mr. O'Connor.
Mr. O'Connor.
Mrs. Wong.
Mrs. Wong.
Mrs. Oblonsky.
Mrs. Oblonsky.
Mr. Menzies.
Mr. Menzies.
Mr. Upal.
Mr. Upal.
Mr. Dykstra.
Mr. Dykstra.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Keddy South Shore St. Margaret.
Mr. Keddy South Shore St. Margaret.
Mr. Anders.
Mr. Anders.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Velicott.
Mr. Velicott.
Mr. Lunny.
Mr. Lunny.
Mr. Rajat.
Mr. Rajat.
Mr. Sorensen.
Mr. Sorensen.
Mr. Schellenberger.
Mr. Schellenberger.
Mr. Allison.
Mr. Allison.
Mr. Bazan.
Mr. Bazan.
Mr. Brown Leeds Grenville.
Mr. Brown Leeds Grenville.
Mr. Hahn.
Mr. Hahn.
Ms. Rempel.
Ms. Rempel.
Mr. Rickford.
Mr. Rickford.
Mr. Gauguin.
Mr. Gauguin.
Ms. Finley Delta Richmond East.
Ms. Finley Delta Richmond East.
Mr. Del Mastro.
Mr. Del Mastro.
Mr. Lukiski.
Mr. Lukiski.
Mrs. Troupe.
Mrs. Troupe.
Mr. Lemieux.
Mr. Lemieux.
Ms. Adams.
Ms. Adams.
Mrs. Glover.
Mrs. Glover.
Ms. Leach.
Ms. Leach.
Mr. Leong.
Mr. Leong.
Mr. Saxton.
Mr. Saxton.
Mr. Decker.
Mr. Decker.
Ms. Brown Newmarket Aurora.
Ms. Brown Newmarket Aurora.
Mrs. McLeod.
Mrs. McLeod.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Chong.
Mrs. Greywall.
Mrs. Greywall.
Mr. Hebert.
Mr. Hebert.
Mr. Jean.
Mr. Jean.
Mr. Kamarnicki.
Mr. Kamarnicki.
Mr. Crown Prince Edward Hastings.
Mr. Crown Prince Edward Hastings.
Mr. Lauzon.
Mr. Lauzon.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. Preston.
Mr. Preston.
Mrs. Smith.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Tilson.
Mr. Tilson.
Mr. Trost.
Mr. Trost.
Mr. Watson.
Mr. Watson.
Mr. Allen Tibic Mactaquac.
Mr. Allen Tibic Mactaquac.
Mr. Cannon.
Mr. Cannon.
Mrs. Davidson.
Mrs. Davidson.
Mr. Galipo.
Mr. Galipo.
Mr. Norlock.
Mr. Norlock.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Storseth.
Mr. Storseth.
Mr. Sweet.
Mr. Sweet.
Mr. Van Kesteren.
Mr. Van Kesteren.
Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Black.
Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Braid.
Mr. Gray.
Mr. Grecian.
Mr. Grecian.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Holder.
Mr. Holder.
Mr. Kerr.
Mr. Kerr.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. McColeman.
Mr. McColeman.
Mrs. O'Neill Gordon.
Mrs. O'Neill Gordon.
Mr. Payne.
Mr. Payne.
Mr. Rathgaber.
Mr. Rathgaber.
Mr. Richards.
Mr. Richards.
Mr. Shorey.
Mr. Shorey.
Mr. Weston West Vancouver Sunshine Coast Sky Country.
Mr. Weston West Vancouver Sunshine Coast Sky Country.
Mr. Woodworth.
Mr. Woodworth.
Mr. Young Oakville.
Mr. Young Oakville.
Mr. Armstrong.
Mr. Armstrong.
Mr. Sopak.
Mr. Sopak.
Mr. Adler.
Mr. Adler.
Mrs. Ambler.
Mrs. Ambler.
Madame Bateman.
Madame Bateman.
Mr. Carmichael.
Mr. Carmichael.
Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Hayes.
Mr. Hayes.
Ms. James.
Ms. James.
Mr. Leeson.
Mr. Leeson.
Mr. Opitz.
Mr. Opitz.
Mr. Seaback.
Mr. Seaback.
Mr. Strahl.
Mr. Strahl.
Mr. Tote.
Mr. Tote.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. Williamson.
Is Young Vancouver South.
Is Young Vancouver South.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Aspen.
Mr. Aspen.
Mr. Butt.
Mr. Butt.
Mr. Chisu.
Mr. Chisu.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Hillier.
Mr. Hillier.
Mr. DeVolen.
Mr. DeVolen.
Mr. Menegakis.
Mr. Menegakis.
Mr. Leaf.
Mr. Leaf.
Mr. Stanton.
Mr. Stanton.
Mr. Wilkes.
Mr. Wilkes.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
Mr. Mulcair.
Mr. Mulcair.
Mr. Alan Wellen.
Mr. Alan Rowland.
Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Madame Bovin.
Madame Boivin.
Ms. Chow.
Ms. Chow.
Mr. Dewar.
Mr. Dewar.
Mr. Harrison Johns East.
Mr. Harrison Johns East.
Ms. Leslie.
Ms. Leslie.
Mr. Cullen.
Mr. Cullen.
Ms. Davies Vancouver East.
Ms. Davies Vancouver East.
Mr. Christopherson.
Mr. Christopherson.
Ms. Nash.
Ms. Nash.
Ms. Crowder.
Ms. Crowder.
Mr. Davies Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Davies Vancouver Kingsway.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Duncan Edmonton Strathcona.
Ms. Duncan Edmonton Strathcona.
Madame Perrault.
Madame Perrault.
Madame D.
Madame D.
Madame Ayala.
Madame Ayala.
Mr. Bevington.
Mr. Bevington.
Madame Moore Abitibi-Témiscamingue.
Madame Moore Abitibi-Témiscamingue.
Mr. Donnelly.
Mr. Donnelly.
Ms. Sims Newton North Delta.
Ms. Sims Newton North Delta.
Madame Leblanc La Salle-et-Mar.
Madame Leblanc La Salle-et-Mar.
Mr. Kelway.
Mr. Kelway.
Madame Brosseau.
Madame Brosseau.
Ms. Charlton.
Ms. Charlton.
Madame Turmel.
Madame Turmel.
Madame Grogouet.
Madame Grogouet.
Mr. Chisholm.
Mr. Chisholm.
Monsieur Boulris.
Mr. Boulris.
Mr. Marston.
Mr. Marston.
Madame Morin Saint-Hyacinthe Bagot.
Madame Morin Saint-Hyacinthe
Sainte-Bagotte.
Madame Hughes.
Madame Hughes.
Monsieur Dubé.
Monsieur Dubé.
Madame Laverdière.
Madame Laverdière.
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott.
Monsieur Bramy.
Monsieur Bramy.
Monsieur Dussault.
Monsieur Dussault.
Mr. Cash.
Mr. Cash.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison.
Monsieur Ravignac.
Monsieur Ravignac.
Madame Blanchette-Lamotte.
Madame Blanchette-Lamotte.
Monsieur Aubin.
Monsieur Aubin.
Mr. Harris-Scarborough Southwest.
Mr. Harris-Scarborough Southwest.
Monsieur Toon.
Monsieur Toon.
Ms. Ashton.
Ms. Ashton.
Monsieur Saganache.
Monsieur Saganache.
Monsieur Caron.
Monsieur Caron.
Madame Picklet.
Madame Picklet.
Monsieur Gravel.
Monsieur Gravel.
Mr. Rafferty.
Monsieur Rafferty.
Monsieur Maille.
Monsieur Maille.
Madame Boutin-Sweet.
Madame Boutin-Sweet.
Monsieur Larose.
Monsieur Larose.
Monsieur Giguère.
Monsieur Giguère.
Monsieur Côté.
Monsieur Côté.
Monsieur Genet-Jourdain.
Monsieur Genet-Jourdain.
Monsieur Lapointe.
Monsieur Lapointe.
Mr. Thibault.
Mr. Thibault.
Madame Doré-Lefebvre.
Madame Doré-Lefebvre.
Madame Lou.
Madame Lou.
Mr. Sandhu.
Mr. Sandhu.
Madame Sela.
Madame Sela.
Monsieur Nichols.
Monsieur Nichols.
Monsieur Tibaïsen.
Monsieur Tibaïsen.
Monsieur Nantel.
Monsieur Nantel.
Madame Latendresse.
Madame Latendresse.
Monsieur Rousseau.
Monsieur Rousseau.
Mr. Benskin.
Monsieur Benskin.
Monsieur Blanchette.
Monsieur Blanchet.
Madame Michaud.
Madame Michaud.
Monsieur Choquette.
Monsieur Choquette.
Madame Savoie.
Madame Savoie.
Mr. Adamanenko.
Monsieur Adamanenko.
Monsieur Jacob.
Monsieur Jacob.
Monsieur Nunez-Melo.
Monsieur Nunez-Melo.
Monsieur Tremblay.
Monsieur Tremblay.
Mr. Stauffer.
Monsieur Stauffer.
Monsieur Chicoine.
Monsieur Chicoine.
Monsieur Diane Labelle.
Monsieur Diane Labelle.
Mr. Cleary.
Mr. Cleary.
Monsieur Morin-Chicoutimi-Lefiard.
Monsieur Morin-Chicoutimi-Lefiard.
Madame Freeman.
Madame Freeman.
Madame Borg.
Madame Borg.
Madame Morin, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce-la-Chine.
Madame Morin, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce-la-Chine.
Monsieur Morin-Laurentier-de-la-Belle.
Monsieur Morin-Laurentier-de-la-Belle.
Monsieur Patry.
Monsieur Patry.
Monsieur Pilon.
Monsieur Pilon.
Madame Reynaud.
Madame Reynaud.
Monsieur Genet.
Monsieur Genet.
Madame Hassegna.
Madame Hassegna.
Mr. Macaulay.
Mr. Macaulay.
Mr. Goodale.
Mr. Goodale.
Monsieur Garneau.
Mr. Garneau.
Mr. Easter.
Mr. Easter.
Miss Fry.
Miss Fry.
Mr. Regan.
Mr. Regan.
Monsieur Bélanger.
Mr. Bélanger.
Mr. Pachetti.
Mr. Pachetti.
Miss Foote.
Miss Foote.
Mr. Lamoureux.
Mr. Lamoureux.
Monsieur Dion.
Monsieur Dion.
Miss Bennett.
Miss Bennett.
Mr. Coder.
Mr. Coder.
Mr. Kurgianis.
Mr. Karagianis.
Mr. McKay Scarborough-Gilwood.
Mr. McKay Scarborough-Gilwood.
Mr. Cusner.
Mr. Cusner.
Mr. Eiking.
Mr. Eiking.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. Scarpalagia.
Mr. Scarpalagia.
Mr. Andrews.
Mr. Andrews.
Ms. Duncan, Etobicoke North.
Ms. Duncan, Etobicoke North.
Monsieur Trudeau.
Mr. Trudeau.
Mr. Valerius.
Mr. Valerius.
Mr. Chou.
Mr. Chou.
Mr. Casey.
Mr. Casey.
Madame Saint-Denis.
Madame Saint-Denis.
Monsieur Bellavance.
Monsieur Bellavance.
Ms. May.
Ms. May.
Yeas pour 139, 139. Nays contre 121, 121.
I declare the motion carried.
Second reading of this bill, deuxième lecture de ce projet de loi.
Accordingly, the bill stands referred to the Standing Committee on Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development. It being 3:23, pursuant to an order made Wednesday, June 20th, 2012, the House stands adjourned until Monday, September 17th, 2012, at 11 a.m., pursuant to Standing Orders 28.2 and 24.1.